friends, welcome to our student support program for grade 7. Today you will be introduced to patterns and sequences. You will also learn how to identify different types of patterns and how to complete a number pattern. So let's begin. Patterns consist of a repeated arrangement of shapes, colors, or numbers. We see patterns everywhere and all around us. For example, in nature, in games, in building, in our home, and even in clothes we wear. Try to look around you and see if you can recognize some patterns. In grade 7, you will learn patterns in numbers and figures. So let's move on to learn to recognize pattern in numbers. It is an important skill. It can also be pretty fun, like solving a Sudoku game. When solving a mathematical problem, one strategy that can be used is to look for a pattern. A pattern in mathematics involves any predictable regularity. Let's learn more on pattern in numbers. Types of number patterns. Number 1. Repeating patterns. In a repeating pattern, the numbers repeat themselves in a regular way. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is a repeating pattern. Number 2, growing patterns. In a growing pattern, the numbers increase in an orderly and predictable manner. For example, 7, 14, 21, 28. This is a growing pattern. From 7 to 14, we add 7. We add 7 to get the successive term. Number 3, shrinking patterns. In a shrinking pattern, the number decreases in an orderly and predictable manner. For example, 5, 3, 1 minus 1, and to get the successive term, we subtract 2 everywhere. Now here is an exercise for you to practice. Let's move on to number patterns from patterns of figures. In this part, you will learn to identify geometric patterns. You are given a set of figures and you will have to identify the rule that makes the figure change. Let's consider these set of figures. Firstly, have you noticed that there is a growing pattern? Let's count the number of squares in each figure. In figure 1, we have 1 square. In figure 2, we have 3 squares. In figure 3, we have 5 squares. Now let's look at the relationship between the figures. From figure 1 to figure 2, we have added 2 more squares. From figure 2 to figure 3, we have again added 2 more squares. What can we conclude? The conclusion is, to draw the next following figure, we need to add 2 more squares. So let's draw figure 4 following the same rule. Now this figure is figure 3. If we follow the same rule that each figure is being increased by 2 squares from the previous one, then the number of squares in figure 4 will be 5 plus 2, which equal to 7. Therefore, figure 4 will contain 7 squares. Let's draw it now by adding 2 more squares. This is figure 4. Can you complete the table below? All the figures are listed in the first row and we need to count the number of squares. Figure 1, 1 square. Figure 2, 3 squares. Figure 3, 5 squares. We have just drawn figure 4, 7 squares. Now to get the number of squares for figure 5, we add 2. 7 plus 2, we get 9. And figure 6, we add 9 plus 2 to get 11. Now here is an exercise for you to practice. Now let's move on to sequences. A sequence is an ordered series of numbers. We will look at a particular type of mathematical pattern called a sequence. Once we understand the pattern behind the sequence, we should be able to figure out all the numbers in the sequence. But before doing the exercises, you are advised to revise different types of numbers, for example, odd, even, prime, square, cubic, triangular, etc. Practice some exercises with integers, fractions, and decimals. Let's have a look at this example. Describe each of the following number sequences and write down the next two terms. Part A, 2, 7, 12. From 2 to 7, we add 5. From 7 to 12, again we add 5. Therefore, to get the next term, 12 plus 5 is 17. 17 plus 5, we are going to get 22. And this type of sequence is a growing sequence. Part B, 6, 2, minus 2. Here we are going to subtract 4 from the term to get the next term. The answer will be minus 6 and the next one minus 10. This type of sequence is called a shrinking sequence. Part C, 1, 4, 9. Now this sequence is square numbers. 1 to the square, 2 to the square, 3 to the square. So the next term will be 4 to the square, which is 16, 5 to the square, 25. And the type of sequence is square numbers. Part D, 6, 12, 18. These are multiples of 6. The next term will be 24, 30. And the type of sequence, multiples of 6. Part E, 1, 8, 27. These are cubic numbers. So the next term will be 64, 125. Type of sequence, cubic numbers. Part F, 16, 8, 4. Here we are dividing by 2. Therefore, the next term will be 4 divided by 2, which is 2. 2 divided by 2, which is 1, and the type of sequence, division by 2. Here is an exercise for you to practice. A fun corner for you. Study this diagram. Can you try to find out the next row of terms? Also, there is a special name given to this triangle. What is it? Here are some interesting links for you to check out. Today we have learned a number pattern is defined as a set of numbers which are arranged in such a way that each successive term or number follows the preceding one according to a specific rule. A sequence is a specific type of pattern that involves a mathematical rule. So dear friends, we have come to the end of our program. You are advised to work out the exercises with your friends, teachers or parents. Hope you have enjoyed our program. Till next time, it's goodbye.